What's up, everyone? Welcome to a special episode of Nowstalgia. My name is Dave Martinson. You'll notice that my normal co-host Pat Sheen is not here today, and that's because, for the first time, I'm starting a new, I guess you could say, interview vertical for Nowstalgia, and this will be not your weekly look at pop culture, but rather a dive into basketball and the NBA with my good Twitter friend, Jono Pech. Jono, how are you today?
Dave, it's a pleasure to be here. I think this is actually my first podcast dedicated exclusively to basketball. Like, I've interviewed some people in the basketball world for my podcast, Puttin In Work, some people from ESPN and from NBA TV. But for me to actually talk about NBA, I'm excited. I'm pumped to be here. So thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, hell yeah. It's actually the first one for me in a long time, too. I used to... loyal fans of Nowstalgia know I used to have a sports podcast from 2015, 2016, and I stepped away from that to devote my time to Nowstalgia. But, I just had an inkling with the NBA so good right now. And I know plenty of people throughout the internet that have a lot to say, and there's plenty to talk about anyway. I figured, why not jump back in? Yeah.
I've got friends where I've seen them a couple times lately, and because of other things going on, we get to the end of the night and we're like, man, we haven't even talked about the free agency yet. And we're like, there's too much to talk about. Let's not even bother, because once we get started, we'll be here for another hour or so. It's been so crazy.
Hell yeah. So before we go, actually, tell everyone about Puttin In Work a little bit more.
Yeah, so Puttin In Work is an interview podcast where I talk to different guests every week, usually someone from the creative world of the internet, whether it's a YouTuber or a podcaster, someone who makes music or writes books, or comedians, all kinds of people like that. And I just rack their brains about how they got to where they are and their philosophies on work and work ethic and the behind the scenes grit and grind that got them to where they are, and get a bit of advice for them, for the listeners. So it keeps me pretty busy. I've just put out episode 75, so it's going well.
Yeah, no, it's a great listen. I think you're a really good interview, and you've got some great guests on there already. So everyone definitely check that out, subscribe, and you won't be disappointed. But in the meantime, let's get to that basketball and free agency, as you alluded to. A lot to talk about there. But before we get to that, you're in Australia and you're a little older than me. I wanted to know, just how did you come to the NBA? Like, what was it like at that time when you became a fan?
Yeah, so as I was growing up as a kid in the 90s, basketball was starting to become a really cool thing to follow, but it was still kind of hard to follow because it just wasn't on TV. There was one or two games a week, and it was in the middle of the night, so you had to tape it on the VHS and on the VCR. And then you had NBA action every Saturday morning, and that was the highlight because you got to see the top 10 plays of the week and that kind of thing. So if you were really into basketball, like I became, there was ways to get into it, but you had to really want it. And as for why I got into it, I don't really know. I think it had a lot to do with NBA Live 97 on the PlayStation 1. That I played that game so much, and that really fueled my thirst for knowledge and for stats and getting into, which college did this guy go to, and that guy's the same height as this guy, but he's, so much faster, and that's so interesting. So as a 10-year-old, that really, just fueled my passion for the NBA.
Right, and is that how you became a Bulls fan? Just because Jordan and the Bulls were popping?
Exactly. It was 1997, and I think especially I mentioned getting into it, but my babysitter, I remember at the time, was a huge Bulls fan, and he was probably 16 or 17 years old, and was one of those people that just idolized Jordan and Pippen and had posters covering every inch of his bedroom wall. And I kind of inherited that from him, and the stories he would tell me about MJ and Rodman and everything. So that I very much took that persona from him and ran with it, even though I came in at the tail end of Jordan's era. That was kind of where the legend started for me, and I've kept with the Bulls since then through some sad times, which we're right in the middle of at the moment as well.
Yeah, I respect that. I don't really care when you become a fan of a team, especially if you're young. Like, I mean, that's only logical, but I just don't like it when people like will ditch the team. Like if you stop being a Bulls fan, like right after the Derrick Rose run or something, like,
that's right.
I just doesn't seem like fandom to me. I know some people just they don't like understand that concept. I don't want to like argue with them about it. It's just I don't know. Like if you've been a fan a while, you understand. But
yeah, it's funny. Like I kind of did, not that I ditched the team, but my interest in basketball dropped off a lot as I grew older and interested in other things. Like I got really into wrestling and I got really into music and video games, and then I kind of rediscovered my love for basketball in like 2009, and I feel like it was a good time because the Bulls weren't like a big team yet. It wasn't like I was jumping on a bandwagon. I think that was the year that they had that triple overtime Game 7 series with Boston that a lot of people was like coming out for Derrick Rose in his rookie season. So it was a great time to jump back in and catch up on a lot of stuff that I'd missed over the previous 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so what's it been like as an Australian seeing more and more Aussies come into the league? Awesome. I mean, you got Ben Simmons now. Do you identify with Ben Simmons? Because I feel how long was he even in Australia?
Well, he definitely grew up here, and it wasn't until I think he was like 16 or 17 that he moved over to Canada. Yeah, and he's got the accent. That's really the most important thing. Like Kyrie's someone that was born here, and then he's grown up in the States, so he doesn't really identify as an Aussie. He doesn't have the accent. He doesn't want to play for the Boomers in the Olympics. So, you guys can have him. But we've got Simmons, we've got Ingles, and we held on to the Bogut and Dellavedova, like the glory years of those guys in the fact that we had an Aussie in the finals every year for like 4 or 5 years, I think. That's true. Which was pretty cool. And
Patty Mills made that easy.
Yeah, and that was the other one. So between Patty, Delly, and Bogey, we were represented fairly well, and that's actually done a lot of good things for I think the casual fan over here, and the fact that Dante Exum got drafted number 2, that was always a pretty big story, and then obviously with his career not taking off the way that it would have. You would have hoped Simmons coming along and knowing for years that he was going to be a big deal. Like it's definitely at a point now where the media is paying attention and they're trying to act like they have been following it for a long time.
For sure. Yeah, and I'm still in on Exum. He just got that 3-year extension with the Jazz, and I think I feel like a lot of his game is still like theoretical. Like in theory, he's a great compatriot to Donovan Mitchell and that defense. But you see the flashes when he's healthy. The problem is he hasn't been healthy, but he's still really young.
Yeah, I'm not really sure who the comparison is that we've seen have a good career with his type of game. He is kind of, I don't know, what is he, a poor man's Is he a poor man's Ben Simmons? Like he's got that length and he's got that size, but he's, and he's billed as a point guard, but he doesn't they say you have to either be able to pass and shoot well or dribble well. And I'm not sure what it is exactly that Dante does really well. And is it defending? Yeah. Maybe that's what it is. Cause he kind of locked up. Who did they play in the first round? He locked up with the star of the team they were up against. And that was kind of his big moment.
Was it Russell?
James Harden, was it?
Yeah, well, he did good against Harden. I know they lost.
Yeah, I think it might have been. Yeah, that's right. But I remember he played Harden really well on a few key possessions, and it was like, okay, we can see he's going to have a career. It's not like up in the air that he's going to have an NBA career. It's just that is he going to live up to that number 2 pick? Probably not. But let's see what he's got once he's got a few years of play under him without that injury.
Actually, I don't think he was the number 2 pick. Wasn't he 5th or something? Yeah. Slightly less pressure.
Maybe,
but either way,
I might be remembering it wrong.
The lottery, so same thing. But one other guy. So he's a New Zealander. So how do you feel about Steven Adams? Because I know New Zealand is not Australia, but he's still,
I don't think he
still
likes
in
us that much. Yeah, I love Steven Adams. He's such a personality, and he's just the classic tough guy Kiwi that you love to see in the sports world. because they've got that reputation through rugby and everything of being that kind of that gritty player. And as much as he would hate to hear it, there's not a lot of differences between the Aussies and the Kiwis, and I think that him and Bogut probably have a lot in common as well. And that they both don't take any nonsense. They're both tough as nails. Like, how many times you've seen Steven Adams get punched in the face or elbowed in the neck, and he barely even blinks?
Right. Yeah. No, see, I just need you to tell me that, because I know, some people are like, oh, New Zealand, it's not Australia. Don't be an uneducated American about it. Like, I'm aware. But no, I like Steven Adams too. He's I'm not the biggest Russell Westbrook guy, but Adams is a great compliment to him, and is a great personality in his own right.
I just fact checked, and you're right. It was the number 5 pick for Dante. So we'll give him a couple more years before we call him a bust.
Fair enough. So you mentioned Derrick Rose, and I'm sure that was a tough thing to see go. Yet another team that LeBron stopped prematurely in the East. But what's it been like transitioning from something that looks so promising? I mean, you were the 1 seed one year, and then now you trade Jimmy. Derrick Rose goes down, the rest of the team gets old. Trade Jimmy Butler, and now it's a young team, and you're just trying to look and see who's a keeper. Like, what was that like? Because it seemed pretty abrupt.
It was. It was. They were the 1 seed for, I reckon, 3 or 4 years under Thibodeau's tenure there.
Right.
As the Heat were figuring things out, especially. So to go from that and feel like there was a chance that they could, push the Heat into the conference finals, and the injuries with Derrick Rose and with Joakim Noah, they were pretty devastating. So once Luol Deng got traded, and then I think Noah got traded, and then eventually it was Rose, and it was all over. But I was kind of holding on to the fact that we had Jimmy Butler, and he was going to be our guy, and we we're going to build around him. But, oh, man, I've been so frustrated with the management there. Like, every decision they've made since drafting Jimmy Butler, between drafting Jimmy Butler and drafting Lauri Markkanen, I'm not sure if they made any smart moves, apart from finally deciding to get rid of Derek and Noah, which pains me to say, because Noah has been like my favorite player to watch over the past 10 years. He's it's a great personality. But
it's really great. First team all defense.
Yeah, but he was 3rd or 4th in the MVP race the year that Rose was out. So yeah, obviously a really talented guy in his prime before the injuries kicked in. So you know all about that as a Knicks fan. Yeah, before he went to New York and his career died. So unfortunately, like when Butler and that whole situation fell apart, and it looked like he wasn't going to be sticking around, I was pretty disappointed with what we got in return from Minnesota. But I guess it's just one of those things where you have to take what you can get from someone that clearly wants to go. You're always in the position of losing. You're never going to get exactly equal value back for a superstar. And that's been the case. Like, anyone that's ever let someone go, whether it's Chris Paul getting traded or Carmelo going to the Knicks from Denver, it's always pieces and 75 cents on the dollar. And I feel like we might have got 60 cents on the dollar for Butler, considering what we got in return. And you just have to hope that Lavine does turn into something big with that extension that we're probably going to talk about. What did you think of that extension? Do you think that, like, to me, it's an overpay, but it's an overpay that we can afford at the moment, because there's literally no one else on the roster taking up any of that cap room?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. So, I saw a lot of punditry saying you can't think about it as that's what we got for Jimmy. We have to retain it. You just have to make a basketball decision. I'm like, that's fine. But to your point, you guys have a lot of cap space. Lauri Markkanen's just entering his 2nd year, and he's probably the only player of true consequence on the team right now, apart from Lavine. And the thing about the cap space, I mean, the Knicks are going to try and make at least one max spot. They'll probably do that, and they could try and get a 2nd spot. But it's only so many max guys at 2019 and 2020, and a lot of people are going to have space as those,
especially when 5 of them are on the same team. Like, you got 5 max guys on the Warriors or whatever.
So and the cap's can go up a little bit, $8 million again next year, and it's Yeah, it's a big overpay for sure. I don't think Lavine's shown enough, partially due to the injury, but also, I mean, is he a good stats, bad team guy? I mean, very well could be, but I think retaining him is probably smart. I was kind of happy that they matched the offer sheet because I was like, Sacramento, don't do this, because if you do this, you overpay this springy guard. We know it'll backfire for Sac.
Yeah,
so
definitely everything backfires for Sacramento. And you're right. Like, if they were to let someone like Lavine go, who are they really going to get that's going to be at least have the upside that he has? Because there's a potential there that he's a 22 point per game scorer. Maybe he figures out how to play defense. Maybe he doesn't. But in a time like this where people kind of, there's a bit of the overpaying of a few seasons ago is kind of starting to backfire, and people are being a bit more cautious about the contracts they're giving out. But I think when there is so much room and no one, at least this season, coming in to take that, and we've also got Robin Lopez probably expiring fairly soon as well. So I feel like there'll be
last year.
Yeah, so between Lavine hopefully showing some flashes of being someone that people want to play with, and our two young players that showing a lot of promise as well, I feel like it might be a free agent that we can tempt with a max contract. Hopefully, we'll see how that goes.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's all about, you're just trying to swoo someone to come join these young guys who aren't yet all-stars. It's not like, you have Karl Anthony Towns or like Giannis, where he's like really young, but you already can really see the future for that guy, or Porzingis even before he got hurt. Yeah. So it's also like as if that's possible though. So
that's right. And Chicago has been like a surprisingly dry area for attracting free agents, apart from like getting Dwayne Wade, whatever you want to make of him in the 6 months that he was a Bull. I can't think of a big free agent they've landed since Carlos Boozer.
Yeah, I was going to say Boozer, and he was already well in his career.
Yeah, exactly. And that was in 2010, and it was a consolation prize after missing out on, I guess, like Amari Stoudemire going to New York and a couple other guys signing contracts like LeBron and people and Bosch, I guess. Yeah. So I just hope that they can, like Chicago can attract that big fish again finally.
Right. Where are you on Chris Dunn right now? Part of the
I'm not really anywhere. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I honestly didn't watch the Bulls much last season because it was so depressing. And there seems to be a few people that think that he'll be around for a while, but I don't know. I feel like they need a scoring point guard, and I'd be happy for Lavine to develop more of a passing game and be the guy that can do that with some other wings around him, especially with his size. But I don't know if Dunn is the kind of player that you want next to Lavine.
Yeah, he's been disappointing for me just because he was an old rookie. I want to say he was like 23, because they get a late start to college and stuff. And you'd think, in theory, he's more developed, more NBA ready if he was going to get taken, 5th overall, 4th overall, and be, a rare upperclassman in that situation. And I mean, we know he doesn't have the shot, but I mean, if his defense continued to grow, I think he's at least a rotation guard. A poor man's Marcus Smart, I guess, with less versatility, but he's probably not your starter long term if you have high aspirations.
That's right. He's not a starting point guard on a playoff team, and there's a lot of there's a lot of great point guards in the NBA, like a lot. It could be the deepest position in the league, but somehow we haven't had a good one since Derrick Rose.
Yep, I know the feeling.
That might be a good segue onto the Knicks, man. Like, how do you feel? Obviously, Porzingis is a talent that you want to surround with good players, but do you think that his injuries hurt their ability to build around him?
That's a great question. Man, it's not the Achilles that Boogie had, and we'll get to that. So I think it's recoverable, especially considering by all accounts, he should just sit out the whole year, in my opinion. I mean, why come back halfway in when the team's gonna be already bad? Let him finish out a tank and truly recover, because he has had some lower body injuries, and unlike
you don't want to risk
Davis,
it with a big man,
right? He already had a serious one, it remains to be seen what he can attract until he comes back on the floor for the first time and show people that he still has it. So, it's a big question mark for sure. But I think he's kind of well liked amongst some of the stars. So I think there's potential. I mean, I'm not going to talk myself into Kyrie leaving Boston or KD leaving and joining the Knicks. I mean, I don't need that heartbreak.
I've heard the rumor.
Or Jimmy Butler will team up with Kyrie in New York. And I'm like, all right, pal. Let's
calm down.
But I'm overall pretty optimistic about the team, just because I feel like they're we got rid of Phil Jackson, thank God. And while some of his mistakes are still there, like Noah, they're moving in the right direction in terms of keeping young players and not trading away picks, something the Knicks never did for most of the 2000s.
Yeah.
So it's a nice change of pace.
And it looks like their rookies got a bit of game on him too, from Summer League at least. Not that you can go completely off that performance, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm big on Kevin Knox because he's not even 19 yet, and he's already shown the scoring ability in Summer League. And yeah, he has some flaws like his left, and shooting will still become more efficient in time. But he's 6'9". He's an ideal small ball 4 next to Porzingis, normal 3. So I think that switchy wing that we saw how valuable it was last year with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And not that he's anywhere near their level yet, but I think that's just the mold that NBA teams don't have enough of. So I was happy they finally went with selecting him. I was so worried they would take someone like Trae Young, who's like, or even Michael Porter Jr., despite he doesn't have a back, and just go for someone more flashy. But no, they went with the young Kentucky kid. So I'm really happy with that.
So do you feel like the Knicks are in a similar position to the Bulls, where despite being a huge market and people always say that people want to live in New York, they always want to play in that situation, but who was the last big free agent they got since Amari?
Yeah, I agree. I think they are really similar. And yeah, I mean, Amari was the backup plan. He wasn't LeBron. He wasn't Chris Bosh. And before that, I mean, they just were more known for getting free agents or trading for former stars. Your Malik Roses, your Jerome James, your Eddie Currys, your Steve Francis, Stephen Marbury, those types.
Yeah,
and
that was a bad era.
Old Jalen Rose, the list goes on. It's a terrible era. Antonio McDyess. I mean, there's so many of them. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing about LeBron going to LA. It's like LA has not operated well the past 5 years. Heck, they already lost one of their lottery picks in Randall, and they traded their second overall pick, Russell, to get off a bad contract. And yet they got LeBron anyway, just because LeBron wants to live in Los Angeles. And it's like, in theory that could work for the Knicks, but like the Bulls, it just really hasn't come to fruition yet. So
fingers crossed.
I don't know. Yeah,
it's a more interesting league when the Knicks are good. I'll put it that way.
That's what everyone tells me, and it's like I really only have recollection of one really good Knicks season, which was 2012, 2013, the 54-win Melo team where Melo won the scoring title, Chandler won Defensive Player of the Year, and JR won 6-man. They still lost in the second round, but it's the best thing I saw. So
and that was when all the 3-pointers were dropping and
Steve Novak,
Steve Novak. Was Felton on that team? Ray Felton?
Yeah, Felton, the comeback Felton, because they originally traded Felton in the Melo trade. That was before he got really fat.
Was that the Linsanity year as well? Or the year after?
Was it Lindsay? I forget. Actually, I think Lindsay was the year after, because I think the 3 weeks of Jeremy Lin is the best point guard play the Knicks have had since Marbury. And it's not like Marbury's a paragon of astute floor general or anything, but it's
Jackson Kidd for a while too.
But like, and that's the thing about the NBA is a lot of people, the Knicks suck. James Dolan sucks. They have no chance right now. I was like, yeah, that's true. I'm advocating for them to tank. Sit out Porzingis. The NBA is great right now. I have so much interest in damn near every team. So much talent. So much great conversation, whether it's written or podcasts. Like, I love following the NBA. I don't care that my team personally is bad and that, I pretty much know who will win the title again. Like, I don't know how you feel about that. Yeah. But it doesn't really bother me at the end of the day.
It doesn't bother me as much as it bothers other people. Yeah. And I think a lot of it is people being sour that their team's not, in contention. But come on. I'm calling you out, Andy Cortez. Like,
Yeah.
the Spurs had like what 20 years of winning 50 games or more, and when your star player retires, like Duncan, you're meant to suck for a little bit. You're not meant to go straight on to the next, MVP candidate with Kawhi. Like, I feel like Kawhi
Or
leaving
before that, it was
kind
David
of
Robinson and the Tim Duncan.
yeah, exactly. So I feel like this is the basketball karma just evening out, and I'm sorry, you just have to suck for a few years. The Bulls suck. The Celtics sucked for like decades after Larry, and the Lakers sucked for ages after Magic left, and in between Shaq leaving and the last 5 years since Kobe's injuries and Powell left. So I'm sure the Spurs will be back as long as they keep being Spursian. They'll be back within 4 or 5 years if Kawhi leaves. But hey, who knows really what's going to happen in that situation? It's so bizarre.
Yeah, what's your read on that now? Because it's been a while, and it seems like the offers aren't good enough to San Antonio's liking, from what we know. Whether the serious offers are just from Philly and LA, or maybe other people are involved. But I mean, I think that's probably the main crux of it, is that San Antonio isn't ready to sell super low. But like Butler, like Paul George, when a star wants to go, you got to get something for him. It's just terrible business to let him go. Look what the Atlanta Hawks did. They let Millsap and Horford leave, for nothing. And now they're kind of bad. So, what's your read on Kawhi right now?
I wonder if the delay is a last-ditch effort to convince him to stay. And I don't know, like there's been a lot of speculation about him and Tony Parker, or that, the sourness of that relationship being a factor. But Tony has kind of come out and said that's, been overblown by the media, and him wanting to leave is nothing to do with Kawhi. So, make of that what you will. But yeah, I wonder, the people saying that the Spurs will just hold off and not trade him at all out of spite almost. Like, I think they're too smart to do that. Like, they're too smart to allow themselves to be left stranded without anything in return. And I can understand saying, like, we won't be held hostage. We're not the kind of franchise that lets a player dictate these kinds of moves. But at the same time, that's where the league's at these days. You can't ignore the fact that when a player wants to go, they often end up going where they want to at that level. Like we saw Melo force his way to New York. We've seen, Chris Paul force his way to LA, first to the Lakers until basketball reasons happened, and then to the Clippers, and back again to Houston. So it's really, I think, a situation where people aren't going to take the rental. The Paul George case is an anomaly in that no one expected him to stay in OKC, and they somehow convinced him to stay. And maybe it's because he didn't want to play with LeBron. I don't know. That's a kind of crazy story in itself. But
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think the whole idea of taking a rental on Kawhi, especially given his attitude of the past 8 months, it would be crazy to take him unless you knew that he was going to stay.
Right, and that's what my whole thing about him too is, if you wanted to leave and go to a bigger market, go to a different organization, whatever, that's fine. You're far from the first star high-level player to want to do that. You won't be the last. But the whole, like, visiting a million doctors to get the right opinion you want to hear, and then, like, avoiding the locker room and avoiding the bench in the playoff games and just being so that's the bad look to me, because it just makes you look like a diva. And it's really weird because you never had that reputation.
Yeah, it's off-brand.
You literally never spoke.
It's so un-Spursian. Tim Duncan would be shaking his head if he was still following the NBA. He's probably like on a boat somewhere, or like carving a canoe in his garage, or reading comics. Who knows what he's up to these days?
Yeah, but like the Tony Parker thing was kind of eye-opening to me, because I know like some Spurs fans. A lot of Spurs fans love Tony Parker, of course. He has a Finals MVP and a bunch of rings, but he does have like a few moments in the locker room, like stuff with like girlfriends and whatnot. But the fact that he left for the Hornets, I thought was quite telling. Just, I guess I didn't confirm this, but apparently there's like direct flights to Paris from Charlotte, East Coast city.
I haven't heard that
sense for him. But
I mean,
I don't get it from Charlotte's perspective. It's like you gave 2 years to a non-athletic, non-shooting point guard when you're about to get rid of Kemba Walker. What use do you have for this guy?
I think they're
I don't understand.
they're gonna let Kemba go.
I think they need to. They're up against the cap. They're up against the tax. They really can't improve much. I mean, they tried. They took a swing with Dwight Howard last year, and Batum has really slowed down since his big contract. So they're kind of locked in what they have. Cody Zeller is useful but overpaid. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist can't shoot. So Malik Monk did not light it up as a rookie. I still believe in him, but it's just I think that they just need to reset with him. And there was talk of him going to the Cavs before LeBron left, but so I think Tony Parker will have an interesting role there once Kemba moves, whether it's at the trade deadline or before the season.
Sure, yeah, I would have thought that they'd be doing everything they could to hold on to him and try and rebuild without losing such a great player like him. But if he's, had enough of that situation, as players often do when they're young and in a small market and not winning games, then I can see him. I guess maybe they've seen that the writing's on the wall and he might be looking elsewhere. But they had a good run recently. Like can't remember if it was this season gone or the one before, but they surprised a lot of people with how well they played. But I guess it might be bringing Tony Parker in could be a way to not tank but lose games, lose more games than win.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know Zach Lowe used to write about was it Cristiano Feliciano on your Bulls team?
Yeah,
from like the tank warrior because like his per minute numbers were just like disastrous and perfect for tanking.
Bring him in, yeah. I really want to see them assemble like an old French lineup and see how that works. Like throw him out there with Batum and Diaw and bring Evan Fournier in and just see
Gobert, right?
And Gobert. See how the chemistry works when you've got some nationals playing together, speaking like their native language, so everyone else is out there not knowing what they're saying. Like, we're going to double team him on the next play. Like they could just say it out in the open and no one would know. It'd be great.
That'd be funny.
Yeah, I always wanted to see the Gasol's role with Rubio and how that would work.
Yeah, for sure. Just because like the Spanish national team is always really good, but there's also a lot of non-NBA players on the team. It would be cool if we just gave them some decent backups and saw how far they could go because they have the chemistry. So
yeah, that's it.
So with with Butler not getting traded for much, with Kawhi maybe not getting traded at all at this point, kind of reminds me of when DeMarcus Cousins was recently traded for not a whole lot, but he healed in a pick really, and there was an extra year on his deal, and now he's on the Golden State Warriors after tearing his Achilles. I mean, NBA Twitter fucking was aflame when that happened a few days about a week ago, right? What was your reaction when you saw the news that Boogie is gonna be on the mend in the Bay?
Yeah, I feel like the internet was like way overreacting to this. I think you might agree with me. We know that the Achilles injury is a real killer to NBA players. There's been no one really except Dominique Wilkins in like the late 80s or mid 80s who's come back from it and been the same as far as production goes. Wes Matthews is pretty close to the same stats, but it's pretty obvious watching him that he's not the same guy. He's playing for a team like the Mavs where he can just take almost as many shots as he wants. So that's really the only reason his numbers haven't suffered. And that's points per game. I'm sure the shooting percentage is way down. So for a big man to go through that injury is pretty concerning, even though Boogie's young. So it's going to play into his favor. But the fact that he's on the Warriors, I think people are just expecting him to come out and be an all-star or be like 80% of the player he was. That's just not like realistic for this injury. And even if he was to come back, I don't know, like around Christmas or January, and some people think it will be even later, but it's hard to tell because the recovery is so variable. I think missing training camp with the Warriors and coming into a team that's so established, they're not just going to throw him in there into the starting lineup and be like, go get 20 points a game, because it's a team where you've already got 3 guys that are doing that every game, and not really enough shots to keep doing that and incorporate Boogie. So yeah, it'll be interesting how it works. It'll definitely be entertaining to see him out there with Draymond and some of the some of the stuff that goes on. But I think Steve Kerr is the kind of guy that will be able to figure it out. And I just wonder if Boogie will, like, what's his motivation to be there? Is it just to get there and win the championship, or is it to, use this 1-year deal to audition for his next contract? Because, we don't really know what his motivations are and what he's playing for, because he's still young enough that he can, try and get another massive contract before he's past his prime, and that might be a fairly big motivator. Or maybe he's just like, I've actually made quite a bit of money so far. Let me just play with some great teams and win rings. And that would be like, obviously, what most people would imagine, as a common fan, like that makes sense. That's what you want to see people do. But who knows how these NBA players think, especially someone like Boogie.
Yeah.
What was your reaction?
Yeah, I have a pretty similar read. I was already like getting in text arguments with friends. I was like, you guys got to relax. It's like you mentioned Wes Matthews, and Wes Matthews has started to look, decent last year on a bad team. And the injury was early 2016, late 2015. It took a few seasons for Wes Matthews to get back.
Was he on the Blazers? Yeah.
And Rudy Gay, another example. Mario Chalmers sat out a whole season. Now you're going to tell me that a 280-pound big man is going to come back really fast and be useful? And like, hey, I have no doubt that he'll get back on the court in early 2019. We've seen that evidence usually. But that doesn't mean he's anywhere close to where he is. I was like, oh, well, if he's 80% of what he was, he's still better than any center they used to have. He's better than Zaza. I was like, do you realize like Boogie's pros and cons? Like, he's a terrible defender. He's a half-court player, and he's already a locker room malcontent. Like, 80% of Boogie could be horrendous, and not what the Warriors are going to want. I really could see
it could be what tears apart the Warriors. This could be the end of the Warriors.
I was rooting for Dwight Howard to go just because the Dwight Bullet virus is undefeated. But
Coach Killer.
But like, I think what I keep envisioning in my head is that Boogie is healthy enough to at least play. Obviously not really effective, but he's not good enough for the Warriors standards, and they don't really play him, and because like they have defensive standards that they're not going to just throw away if Boogie can inefficiently get you 15 points in 20 minutes.
What happens if he comes in and he's not happy with the amount of touches he's getting, or he's not happy with the way that they're using him? Like, I can see him getting upset pretty quickly. And, if there's a team that can handle a guy with Boogie's personality, I'm sure it's a team with Steve Kerr and those kinds of veterans around him. But it's just such a unknown, really. Right.
And, to that point, I mean, David West alluded to them having some locker room turmoil this past season, and you already could see like the malaise of having the target on their back for so long. And now you're going to throw Boogie in there because, again, Boogie is motivated to play well, to get paid. And he won't be getting paid by the Warriors. I mean, due to the way the cap works, they only can offer him 120% of the last contract. So Boogie wants a max or a near max. He can't get it from Golden State anyway.
Yeah.
So Golden State is neither invested in his success long term, nor is Boogie invested in Golden State's success. So, a lot of people, it's the snake move. You just pulled the Kevin Durant. No one wants to compete. I'm like, all right, fine. But also, he's going to miss half the season. And why not do that while sitting around for a ring? I don't blame him. He also sat in Sacramento for 6.5 years. I think he gets a free pass for some stuff.
Yeah, I think after you've played in Sacramento, you get to ring chase for 1 year. We'll give him 1 year of it. To get that taste out of his mouth, the Sacramento taste. Sorry, I think Snowbike Mike's a Sacramento fan, but
is he?
Well, I know
I only know one Sac fan. So that would
Yeah,
be
I
two.
think he's been to some Kings games last season, so that might be the closest team to where he lives. But if you are a fan, I'm sorry, but following the Kings must be the hardest job in NBA fandom.
Yeah, I mean, especially since like they were so close with the Bibby and Stojakovic run, and then they got robbed with the Lakers series, and now, I mean, look at how many lottery picks they've just missed on in the past few years. Ben McLemore, Nick Stauskas, Thomas Robinson, even guys that are definitely Jimmer. Willie Cauley-Stein, he's like rotation big, but not fifth overall. You know,
some of those guys aren't even in the league. Yeah,
they took Marvin Bagley over Doncic. Not a fan of the move. There's a chance Bagley's like the fourth best big. You could have the better Duke big man on your team in Wendell Carter. Like, I thought that was a risky swing too, but they also got lucky with Bogdanovich. And they have De'Aaron Fox, so they're not horrendous. They have some talent, but yeah, poor not for the Kings fans. Boogie put up a lot of shit there. A lot of it his fault too, but to put a cap on that, I just until proven otherwise, until an Achilles injury player makes an impact the following season in a meaningful way, I'm just not going to believe it's going to happen because it hasn't really happened.
Yeah, I'll eat my words if he comes out and averages 18 or something. Like, that would be pretty amazing on that team. Mm-hmm. And, it's also an awesome insurance for the Warriors if there is an injury to any of their star players. Like, they can just slot in DeMarcus and the scoring load will be covered completely, and they won't need Curry or Durant or Clay to average 30. So
right,
it's a kind of a no-brainer for them to bring in someone like that for that contract when the opportunity's there. But
of course,
yeah.
And the other thing people are kind of like totally overlooking is that the market wasn't really there for Boogie this year.
The Lakers didn't even make an offer.
Like, he wanted, a multi-year deal, and I think he probably knew he wasn't getting a full max, but he wanted, something long-term at a decent, annual value. And why wouldn't he not? He should try. I mean, Isaiah Thomas thought he deserved it too, and then he got hurt. So the fact that he wasn't getting it, and then everyone else filled up their cap space. I think now there's all this like revisionist, arguments. Oh, well, Boogie should have informed Boston and Washington that he would have done it for $5 million so they could have planned around him. It's like, no, that's not how it works. He's a human being. Like, it was Monday. He hadn't had any offers, and a lot of teams had already paid people. I mean, the freaking Bulls gave Ersan Ilyasova a 3-year deal right away. It's like, it only can be helped so much. And then, like, Sacramento was like, hey, we don't want to reunite with Boogie, but we'll give Lavine 4 years, 80. Fuck it.
Yeah, the Lakers could have had Boogie, but they signed JaVale instead. So,
right,
figure that out. I don't know if it's time to talk about the Lakers yet, but oh man,
why not?
Go for it. Okay, so you sign LeBron James. That's an A+ move. You're doing well on the report card, and then you sign Lance Stevenson. Okay, maybe he can produce something of value on the right team in the right situation. He'll never be what he was in Indiana, but okay, interesting guy. JaVale McGee. I think it was a $4 million contract. Does that sound right to you? $4 million or $2 million?
Or it might have been 2. It's like the veteran minimum, more or less, for their years of service.
It's like, okay, you've used $4 or $5 million between those two guys, and then Kentavious Caldwell-Pope for $12 million.
Oh.
That is the move that just breaks.
Why that move happened.
It's the clutch thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
But it's effectively made LeBron move to a team that's worse than the one he was on.
And don't forget Rondo as well.
Oh man, yeah. And there's that rule about there's that rule about having one. You can manage one head case per team, but as soon as you pair up 2 head cases, you're in trouble. Like, you really need to work hard to keep those guys from bringing the team down. And they've got Lance, JaVale. I think we can give JaVale a pass. He's a bit of a goofball, but he's not like crazy.
Right.
He's not like a negative presence.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Rondo, you throw Rondo in there with, I already want to know how he reacts to Lonzo Ball's dad saying that he's going to back him up. He's going to back up the kid. It'll be a nice backup. It's like, oh man, I just wonder what they're thinking and how they can look LeBron in the eye after convincing him to go there, and then surrounding him with these guys that are, I don't know, like, is it possible that they could? No, you can't miss the playoffs with LeBron. But if they're trying to miss the playoffs with LeBron, this is the closest they could get.
Probably yes. I don't think I don't think they'll miss. Obviously, given they were not that far away last year without him. But I mean, I did see this stat thrown out by Matt Moore on Twitter of players to play 1,000 minutes at least last year. Rajon Rondo had the second highest defensive rating on his team. Lance had the highest, and then JaVale only played 615, but had the fourth highest overall on the Warriors. So it's like you want to cherry pick some defensive metric stats. Maybe LeBron wants some guys that'll grind harder on defense than him, so that he can save himself. I guess. I think the main thing, though, I think Kevin O'Connor really brought this home, is that they're all 1-year deals. The 2019 free agents, there's a bunch of them, and
But do you want to waste? Do you want to waste a year of LeBron's prime, like treading water with a weird roster? Like I just thought Kawhi was the play, or DeMarcus was the play. They obviously didn't want DeMarcus because they didn't offer him anything. Like they could have got him for $5 or $6 million. Mm-hmm. When you sign LeBron, that's the chance to get a bunch of guys that will play for nothing just to play with LeBron and to have a chance at a ring. We've seen that in Miami. We saw that in Cleveland with a bunch of the veterans that would sign there, like Ray Allen going there, leaving Boston to play in Miami.
Rashard Lewis,
Mike Miller's, like all these people that, they're out of the league now, but at the time, like they were guys that other teams would have paid for, but they were willing to play with a stacked team if it meant that they had a chance to go deep into the playoffs. But instead, I feel like they rushed and they went after JaVale and Lance and Rondo and Caldwell Pope when there were guys worth getting. Like they could have gone after Ariza, or they could have gone after, a bunch of guys that would have gone to battle for them.
Yeah, I mean, Montrezl Harrell still ain't signed. I really like him. Yeah, I mean, heck, you could have thrown money at Capella. Yeah, the space. I think probably what happened was they wanted Paul George, and Paul George went back to OKC, and they're like, all right, we're less excited about trading away all the young kids for Kawhi without already signing PG, So maybe now they're just kind of banking on, we'll risk LeBron kind of not wasting a year, but not being super serious about this year, and then just sign Kawhi outright. But I mean, LeBron is going to be 34 at the end of the year, and year 16, he's going to slow down at some point, So it does seem risky to not go all in a smart way. But these are treading water moves that, as you said, with the head case thing, I mean, there's great benefit that they are great chance that they are negative moves in the 1 year. So very perplexing.
Do you think that it would be an offer on the table to the Spurs around some of those young players? Or do you think that, like you said, they don't want to lose any of what they've got? Like they don't want to lose any assets, so they're waiting till they can just sign Kawhi without that?
Yeah, I think the main piece they want to hold is Brandon Ingram, just because he's so young and you see his potential already. He's already shown the flashes, and you could really see him as grabbing the torch from LeBron in a few years. But on the other hand, they have all these young guys, and you do have to pay them all eventually. It's still really far away, but if you're going to make a team full of max contracts, you can't have all these young guys eventually. That's still really far away. So it's like, Lonzo, Ingram, Kuzma, and Josh Hart. Julius Randle's gone now. So it's like, you trade two of them, or maybe one with a pick. I thought once they renounced Randle, I thought Randle was an obvious sign and trade guy for them, just because he's still useful and valuable, former top 10
definitely.
pick. But I mean, as a Laker fan, would you want them to trade a lot the few pieces that worked from this 5-year terrible stretch post Kobe to get Kawhi Leonard when you could probably just sign him? I mean, I'm a Yankee fan, and Yankee fans are talking about this in baseball right now with Manny Machado. It's like, do you trade assets for the guy that you could probably just sign in a few months? It all depends on how much value it's. You could see it either way.
It's hard though, because things change so quickly. I think that if I was a Lakers fan, I'd want them to lock up Kawhi and have a year of him playing with LeBron and kind of try and push for an extension or for a re-signing at the end of next season. And if they're not going to do that, I don't know, like, would it be worth looking at other moves to bring in, like, maybe DeMar DeRozan or someone that is able to make this not a completely wasted season? Yeah, like, obviously the Raptors are looking at what they can do to improve their chances, and is it to bring in some young guys, like, you know, whether you trade like Ingram and Luol Deng's contract for DeRozan and another piece over there. I don't know, but
right.
I don't know.
Like we said before.
Yeah, Kemba. Like, I just feel like, you know, it's maybe it will be a year where LeBron is mentoring some of those young guys, and that will be enough to keep him engaged and to keep the team from just treading water. But yeah, it's hard to see the moves they've made after signing LeBron and not think that they've missed some opportunities.
Yeah, and he has to know that the team is currently constructed without Kawhi Leonard. Like, you're not a favorite to make the Western Conference Finals. That team isn't better than Houston or Golden State. Doesn't mean they couldn't get there, but you know, maybe he's content to have a shorter season. I don't know. You'd think that he'd just want to keep going balls to the wall as long as he's this effective. So it's tough to really know, you know, what they're thinking.
Yeah, maybe it is just a purely long-term vision of these young guys that they want to be part of the franchise. I don't know, but you would think that trading a little, you know, not all of the young guys, like, even if you sent Ingram away, you're still going to have Kuzma and Ball, or if you know, replaced one of those others with Ingram, I feel like it's a price worth paying to get someone like Kawhi, who can then use that to attract other, you know, vets or buyout contracts that pop up throughout the season that can be really valuable. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to complain if the Lakers are bad this year. I'm happy for them to suck, to continue sucking, but we'll see.
Yeah, guys, it's gonna be fun watching the Kobe fans handle this with LeBron. That, I mean, I think I saw this thrown out there when LeBron signed. This could embolden the Kobe fans if LeBron doesn't make the finals in a year, in the first 2 years or something, or ever. They'd be like, "Oh, look at this! Here it is. Here's proof. Kobe was always better. We knew." You know, it's like, oh, this actually could go really bad.
Or he could have a fantastic year, and they'll have to admit that he's the best Laker of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the thing. Is I think Nick Wright on FS1 was like, "Oh, well, now that LeBron signed with the Lakers, Kobe is officially no longer one of the 5 best players to ever wear a Laker uniform." I was like, "Oh man, that I love hearing that. That's great stuff."
That's awesome.
Yeah. How surprised were you when Paul George stood by with Russell Westbrook and OKC? I was shocked.
Yeah, probably like an 8 out of 10 on that one. There was so much talk. There was so much, like,
hints.
Oh, yeah, it was almost just like a lock. It was a guarantee. He's going to LA. It was a given. Like, everyone just talked about it like it was happening. It wasn't a kind of like LeBron, oh, we think he's probably going to leave. We think, you know, you can read the tea leaves and you can, you know, read between the lines and see it wouldn't make sense for him to leave. It wasn't like that with Paul George. It was he's going to LA, and it's only a matter of like who's going to be there with him. Mm-hmm. So when he said that he was going to re-sign with Oklahoma, I was kind of surprised, especially since they were so mediocre. And I say that in the sense that they weren't spectacular as a lot of people expected them to be. There's a lot of people who still overrate Carmelo, and as a Knicks fan, I'm interested if you're, you know, there's a lot of Knicks fans who are very defensive about Carmelo, and they say that he's like one of the best 5 players of the last, you know, of this era or whatever. But I think he's been fairly overrated, and he's been especially someone that's not willing to recognize his own inabilities and his deficiencies. So for a player that's been offensive focused and has slowed down with his age and isn't necessarily an explosive scorer, he's been completely shut off to any kind of backseat that might be willing to be necessary, whether it's coming off the bench or whatever. And that makes me think that, now that he's gone from Oklahoma, is he going to finally embrace that? And is he going to become the Olympics Melo that we always wanted to see on a contender like Houston or something? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the dude shot 40% from the field last year. He just didn't shoot well. Now, you can look at the numbers. Like Westbrook got George and Melo lots of great catch and shoot opportunities. I have plenty of criticisms of Westbrook, but he does get the ball to guys sometimes. Yeah, Melo just didn't shoot well. And, his best year with the Knicks was when he was playing the 4 because he was faster than all of them and he could shoot over the threes. And he was really effective then. And, yeah, he's older now, but the lack of a willingness to change your role, then blame the role on why you didn't play well. It's really confounding when the results aren't there anymore. And obviously I don't blame him for opting into his deal. That's the deal Phil signed him to. The OKC is smart to move him, and we still don't know exactly what's going to happen. I assume they're just going to buy him out. I mean, why would Houston really take on that contract even for this year? I mean, unless they can somehow move Ryan Anderson back to OKC, but the whole incentive for OKC is to get less luxury tax. So, I'm not actually sure the incentive to accommodate, more salary for them. So, but yeah, I mean, Melo on the Rockets is also really confounding to me, just because him and D'Antoni didn't have a great end to their time together in New York. And also, what, you think you're a starter on them? I mean, they did lose Ariza, they did lose Mbamba Moute. They just signed James Ennis yesterday. I mean, James Ennis should be starting with a 3 over Melo, but maybe they start Melo. I don't know. But you're the clear fourth fiddle in the offense there because Clint Capella gets plenty of shots set up for him. So I don't think it's a great fit either. But
as good as as much as he would struggle with the label of coming off the bench, he would be an amazing sixth man to come in and take over the offense for a spurt and just be that scorer that fills in while the number one go-to guy is catching a break. I think that, like I mentioned, Olympics Melo is the ultimate version of Melo that just comes in and he's aggressive and he can give everything he's got for a few minutes at a time and change the flow of the game with that explosive scoring. Not that he has the first step that he once had or maybe the shooting ability that he once had, but I think that if he's used sparingly, he can have that impact, and it's something that he doesn't seem willing to embrace. But who knows? It might just take the right situation to put him in, and putting him next to someone that like Harden, or putting him next to Chris Paul, or someone that can tell him this is what we need you to do. If they can get him to do that, then it might work, and it might be the difference that they need.
And him and Chris Paul obviously are good friends, the banana boat obviously, but Chris Paul also is a hard ass in the locker room. He'll talk shit to you and tell you you're fucking up. So maybe in a sense that's a good pair because they're both friends, but also Chris Paul will keep it real with him. I don't know. But I just can't get over that. Like, you didn't like spotting up and moving less? I don't understand. Like, every shooter as they age loves to just move off screens and shoot the ball. Or even just stand in the corner. So it's like, I don't know, he thinks he still thinks that his ISO play is efficient enough to be, desirable for a team. And I just don't know why he can still think that when we just don't have the results. And yeah, I mean, to your point about some Knicks fans, I know some Knicks fans that are like, oh, it's Westbrook's fault. They weren't using him right. Go somewhere else. And I'm like, yeah, maybe, but unlikely. And it's like, I thought Portland was kind of an interesting fit just because Portland could, change.
Definitely, they need a wing like that.
They also would have a hard time accommodating his 27 mil. But yeah, I mean, Houston. I mean, why not Houston? I mean, worst thing they do is they just won't play him. D'Antoni will not give a fuck. He just won't play him. And once you're already in the season, if you really wanted to, you could just waive him. It's the final year of his deal anyway. But I think they would. I don't know how high the upside is though now. And,
the players like that who rely like he's not exactly a Blake Griffin flying through the air kind of player in his prime, but players who lose their athleticism, I guess, like Dwayne Wade has in recent years, and
Yep.
we're seeing from Melo, like if they don't adapt the way that Jordan realized he had to adapt and the way that Kobe realized he had to adapt, they just fall out of relevance so quick. And I think Paul Pierce is someone that did really well in
Sure.
acknowledging his limitations and being like, okay, I'm not the guy that's going to score 20 every game, but I'm going to get you 6 points in the last 3 minutes, and I'm going to take the final shot, and I'm going to score when it counts. And I think that, not that Melo's quite at that point yet, but he's kind. I feel like he's kind of getting close to what we were seeing from that, Brooklyn, Washington version of Paul Pierce.
Yeah, I mean, he's already 34. He's a year older than LeBron because he did the year in college. So yeah, I think you're right. Any other free agency developments that you were interested about?
Yeah, I mean, I as we're talking about Melo, and I kind of enjoy seeing the arrogant stars of the past having to kind of humble themselves by the fact that they're not wanted as much as they used to be. Like you see Dwight Howard getting waived from Brooklyn. He finally got his trade to Brooklyn, and they waived him. And it just goes to show he had a really great season last year, statistically, but people aren't going to put up with what you're bringing in terms of the negative energy to the locker room or any level of arrogance that doesn't gel with what a team's trying to do. So I think he has actually some potential to put up some really good numbers in Washington and play with a point guard like John Wall. He's, Joe House keeps saying that he's never played with a point guard as good as John Wall, and so that will be fun. I think. Just is it an upgrade from Gortat to Dwight? I don't know, but
I think it is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah, and I guess that's probably the most of the big free agent signings that I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, unless Capella went somewhere else, but no one really else has enough space to give him the deal. It's just a Mexican standoff right now between Houston and him.
It's crazy that Lavine could get a contract of 80 over 4 years, and Capella can't get that when he's a far more effective player. It's not on the offensive end, it's on the defensive end, but he's impacting the game a lot more than Lavine, and yet people don't seem as willing to pay for the big man.
Yeah, it's I mean, this would never have happened, but I kind of wish Chris Paul had taken less money just because of his age and his injury history, because that would have really helped them. But no one really, everyone wants to get their dollars, which I can't blame them, of course. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, a lot of people stayed home just because there wasn't a whole lot of money out there. Again, all those bad deals in 2016 and the lack of cap smoothing, there's just only so much room. That's why everyone's kind of gearing up for next year, like the Knicks and the Bulls, among everyone else. So, next year you got Klay Thompson, Durant, Boogie, hopefully healthy. Kyrie can opt out, Jimmy Butler. So there's a chance for a lot of movement again in about a year. But this season will be interesting in terms of we could see some big names get moved to the deadline again as teams get a handle on whether stars want to leave. Personally, I'd be really interested if Kyrie left, just because he'd be living such a great situation, such a stacked team, great coach, great future, more assets to come. Just to leave that, just because he already has the ring. I don't know what his motivations are anymore. He's like, I just want to play with my friend Jimmy Butler. Peace out. That'd be wild.
That would be great. Yeah. Do you think that we're going to have a situation where someone is smart enough in the West, one of these big stars, to say, if I go to the Eastern Conference, I can do what LeBron's been doing for the last 8 years, and I can just take my team to the finals every year, like whether it's Durant or if it's Butler in the right situation, probably not the Bulls, unfortunately, or if it's, I don't know, like a Paul George going back there eventually. I don't know. Do you think that someone sees that opportunity and embraces it and becomes that perennial final contender?
I'd like to think so. I mean, look at the stars that are in the East right now. Giannis, His team's borderline incompetent, can't put a good team around him, so he's not a top-tier contender, unfortunately. DeRozan on the Raptors. Lowry's old. They got some young players, but they always feel like they have a cap ceiling with DeRozan unless he continues to grow. You have Kyrie in Boston and maybe Tatum too.
And Hayward, yeah.
And then the Philly guys, Embiid and Simmons. And then who's the next best start? Oladipo in Indy? Like,
you get down to that. You get down to that next tier of like your Kemba Walkers and those kinds
Wall
of guys.
And Beal, I guess. And like I used to love Wall too, but he's took a step back last year. And yeah, there's just plenty of room. I mean, if KD went to Chicago or New York or anywhere else, yeah, he's immediately pushing for a 1 seed and for the foreseeable future. I mean, meanwhile in the West, you have a great young team with a lot of talent, like the Nuggets, who might miss the playoffs again for the 3rd year. Like, it's just a total bloodbath, and you don't need to put up with it. I mean, I don't see the incentive to stay in the West at this point. I mean, I assume Klay Thompson will stay with Golden State, but I could see Durant leaving. I really could see it just because all the shit he's got,
Yeah. It would be a great time to open up that conversation of reseeding the playoffs into just the best, the best 15, 16 teams, especially with how stacked it is. And the fact that I guess a team like the Pelicans or the Timberwolves would probably be a 1 or 2 seed in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah. And
might not even make the playoffs.
And like I saw a compromise, like, why don't you, the first 4 seeds in East Conference still count, and then after that, they're all together for reseeding. I'm like, right. That's fine. If that's what you have to do, fine, do it. Just because the conferences don't impact schedule as much as you think. It's like 1 or 2 extra games. Like, it's not like it's this huge, like, strength of schedule parity question. The West plays the East, and the East plays the West all the time. It's not a big deal. So,
yeah, I guess it makes the tiebreakers a lot more significant as well.
Yeah, I also think like playoff travel is always thrown out, but I feel like that's a solution that can be figured out. They're smart people at the NBA,
That's right. They can lengthen out the days between games if they have to.
Yeah. Well, John, I think this has been great. There's always a lot to talk about in the NBA. I'm sure we keep going. Like Absolutely. I said before, I could talk about literally any team, even like the Magic. There's storylines everywhere. So
Memphis.
I'm sure. Yeah. Oh yeah, Memphis, man. They love Jaren Jackson. They really want to compete again. Good luck. Sitting with Dallas. But I think we can do this again because I'm sure things will happen between now and literally tomorrow. So thanks for coming on. And
we might have to reconvene at the start of the season and see what's changed since now.
And if you're listening, I plan to keep doing this with other people, getting back into talking about basketball because it's a great time to be a fan. So thanks for listening. Check out Puttin In Work Pod. Follow Jono at Jono Pech. And
Jono himself.
Oh, my bad. Jono himself. Right.
Oh, good.
And hit him up on that. Puttin In Work Pod at Puttin In Work Pod, right?
That's it. Well. That's it.
Hell yeah. And stay tuned for the normal pop culture programming every week. But until then, peace out.